Drum Workshop steps up its acronym game with the DWMFG MDD double pedal. It's $1,000. Is it worth it? I've had a chance to record, practice, and gig with this pedal. And if you're thinking about buying it, I'll give you some pros and cons that I found that you might want to consider. So before I get too deep here, let me just say where I was coming from this DW Delta 2 Chain Drive 5000, which I played for 20 years, during which I replaced a bunch of different parts on it. I swapped out a linkage, I've replaced a hinge, and I've snapped plenty of beaters, probably 4 or 5. DW also sent me a new footboard when I snapped mine. Their customer service is actually pretty cool. I'm not sponsored by DW. Is that why I chose DW when it was time to get a new pedal? Not totally. Although I do believe if something works, you should stick with it. But regarding brand loyalty, a very wise person once told me, you should shop for cymbals as if you were blind. I think the same is true for gear. You need to go by feel to a certain extent. Speaking of feel, there is a huge difference between chain drive and direct drive. I'm firmly in the camp that direct drive is the way of the future. Pros and cons of the MDD. Let's start up top with the cons, work our way down. The control beater. It's kind of cool. It has these brass weights. You can load it up, kind of like a revolver, changing the head weight. It also has these screw-in tips, so based on which one you use, it will change the response and the sound of your bass drum. Unfortunately, it also has this swivel here. DW's supposition was that on slight mishits, it would self-correct at the moment of impact, ensuring flush contact. Unfortunately, though, that lateral movement on the felt eventually pops that felt right off of there. They didn't get the adhesive quite right, and that leaves you with this that's making contact with your bass drum head. It's not just me who has that problem. It's been reported by a lot of people. They make aftermarket bass drum beaters like these. These are called the DW Hardcore beaters because they have a hard core. It's kind of a lame joke there, DW. But unfortunately, the tolerance is too perfect, and they click together. The MDD does not have a beater width adjustment, so if you want to use these beaters, you can't. This thing is the tri-pivot swivel toe clamp. It's really cool that if you mount this a little bit left or right of bottom center, it helps keep your bass drum pedal flat on the floor. It's really not cool that by the time you get it on here, your bass drum is a full ½ inch higher in the air than it is with the 5000. If you play with your toms as low as possible to your top bass drum hoop, that might be an issue. If your bass drum hoop isn't flat and has one of these divots in it, the pedal really doesn't want to connect. It takes some finesse and it's still a little bit squirmy. For $6, Gibraltar makes these bass drum hoop inserts, and that'll give you a more solid connection. Even so, I'm not sure how that was overlooked. The footplates on these pedals are massive, a half to almost a full inch wider than the 5000. That means even if you have a lightweight snare stand, depending on how you play, it might have some trouble fitting in there. It also means the gap between your hi-hat pedal and bass drum pedal is substantial. You'd think with such a wide footplate it would be fairly stable, but unlike the 5000, there's no Velcro on the bottom. So, is it perfect? Of course not. Is it right for you? I don't know. It was right for me. It is the smoothest, most responsive pedal I've played from any brand. And if it's anything like my last DW pedal investment, I look forward to playing it for a long time.